Hey, good morning. I think we're on. I can't see anything. Chris, can you see anything? I can't see. Good morning, Patriots. I think we're live. I didn't see the countdown, so I guess we're in. So good morning. Good morning, everyone. There we go. We're in. So, yeah, Chris, are you there? I guess it's a day of devastating news all around. So, can you come right in? I don't want to
Yes, I
set
see.
off anything that may delay the discussion, right?
No, not at all. No, we're all good. And welcome. Good morning, Patriots. It's time to wake up. But there is some there is some news amongst
Yeah,
the Catholic community that Pope Francis has passed on.
Catholics.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now he's a controversial
Francis.
pope for a lot of reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Without further ado, you're one of them Catholics, right?
So I am. So I bring in some perspective here. I
Yeah.
I don't like to speak ill of the dead. So let's work there. He's the pope. One should respect the religious leader of the time. I get that. Just like the Dalai Lama, just like anybody who runs a religion. They're the leader of that particular clergy as elected by the governing body. Having said that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of news. The left wing media loved him. The rank and file, again, we everybody has to respect the Pope, but he was seen as a guy who introduced a lot of controversial subjects into the church. And again, I'm a to each his own person. My issue with the Pope at this point is, and again, I don't want to uh, uh, disparage anybody who likes Pope Francis, but he was installed. In fact, when Pope Benedict was overthrown, and I know Mike McCormick has talked about this several times, he was overthrown. Pope Benedict was overthrown by factions within the more woke side of the Catholic Church, and with help from the Obama administration, and that includes Joe
Right.
Biden when he was vice president.
Right.
So again, rest in peace, Pope Francis. But I am curious to see what the deep state and deep church will be doing next.
Yeah. So, a little point of fact. I like facts, especially funny ones. So, did you know that when the Pope dies, they take a silver hammer and hit him in the head 3 times and see if candy comes out? Did you know that?
Well, I mean, I guess since he's from Latin America, I don't know right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pinata Pope. I didn't know that, but apparently that's true about the silver hammer. At least it used to be. Did you know that? Did you know that they do that with the silver hammer?
So that explains why the guy thought Nancy and Peter Pelosi were popes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right,
think
now I'm
so.
getting this. See, now this is all coming together here. We're gonna get in
Yeah,
trouble for
I
this,
think
aren't we?
it's interesting that they have this kind of interesting way of doing things. I don't know if a hammer is the right medical instrument to render care to a pope. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know. You're Catholic, I'm not. I'm just commenting on what I was told. So,
Well, the funny thing is, and again, rest in peace, Pope Francis. But a lot of the mainstream media has been covering him as a reformer. They've been calling him somebody who changed the church, and he did win favor from a lot of people on the left. And I've noticed this both in mainstream and on social media, where
yeah,
a lot of people did not like, or a lot of the mainstream media did not like the more traditional Pope Benedict. They made fun of him because he was a white European, a German for that matter, and took the name Benedict. And it was like there's a
yeah,
lot of hate and vitriol thrown at him. In the
yeah,
middle of that, the church just overthrew him. They brought in this Pope Francis, who was more of a, I guess they kind of thought of him as kinder and gentler. But the USA Today wrote his, I'd say, obituary article, the tribute to him as a reformer. I'm not sure if he has reformed the Catholic Church as much as brought in a more woke agenda. And again, I want to see what the Catholics, if there are any Catholics among us in the among in our Patriot chat. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? Am I going to get in trouble for this one?
yeah. Let's hear from the Patriots. Let's hear from the Patriots because I'm kind of curious because I've never understood why you all drink the blood of Christ and eat his skin. That's kind of gross to me. I've never, got kind of understood that. And to me,
It's
if
a
you
way to
just
get
take
free
that,
wine.
Yeah, well, that's true. Mad Dog 2020 was very good when I was a kid. I guess it's pretty good in the Catholic Church too. But
Yes,
I've never quite understood the sacrament. That's something. Hold on.
Catholic positive. No, again, the sacraments are important because it's the ritual. It's the idea that you're taking in Jesus as his soul. When he said when he before he was crucified, he told his compatriots, if you will, his disciples, if drink from this wine symbolizes my blood. So drink that, and you have me as part of you. Same thing with the bread. The bread symbolizes my body.
Yeah,
Not,
I know. Well,
I'm not.
symbology, a lot of symbology is something that I think people, interpret different ways. Just saying, because I think it's interesting that sacraments in like I don't know, an African nation with people who run around naked would be different than sacrament in the Catholic Church. Not that I'm comparing naked African people to members of the Catholic faith. Don't take my words out of context.
No, well, as far as the Patriots here, the Jemmy Burns says, I completely agree with all you just said, Chris. We have some people who say, "Look, God will be his final judge. Rest in peace." A reformer, more like a destructive human. That's from MK Hart. Again, we're not disrespecting the Pope at this point. We're not disrespecting Pope Francis, but we have to be fair about what he has done to the church and his role in church relations, his role in bringing this job, this disgusting child molester, this McKinnon, into the public eye again, promoting him along with Obama and Biden as his accomplices in doing so. So this is very
Uh,
important.
well, so to that point, I'm glad you brought that up because I think the Pope, who's supposed to be kind of, is he the spokesman of God? I want to make sure I'm clear on this so I don't get anybody upset because I always do. He's supposed to be kind of representing God's interest here on earth, right? I mean, that's the theory, right? He's supposed to be the pontiff. He's supposed to
Yeah, he's the
pontificate.
guy.
I think
Yes.
that's where it comes from. Yeah, I think that's where that word comes from, pontification. He's the pontiff. So, I didn't did is global warming mentioned in the Bible? I did not. I don't understand how somehow the Pope becomes an advocate for a pseudoscience which doesn't exist. Just saying. And
Well,
then this whole idea that we need to accept illegal aliens who kill people. Yeah, yeah, they're uh, they're just migrants. Yeah, they kill people, but you need to welcome them.
well, there is a
Seriously.
reason for that, Tony, and I believe this is what I believe is happening.
All
Uh,
right,
the
I'm
idea
listening.
is the idea is the Catholic Church, Catholics rank and file are supposed to believe. This is what I learned when I was a lot younger. Where we are conditioned to believe the Pope is infallible, and this is not just last 50 years. This is you're talking about wow, thousands, hundreds and thousands of years. You're talking about from the beginning of popedom, if you will, the beginning of the Catholic Church. We're supposed to believe that the Pope is infallible. Now, there were challenges, there were anti-popes, and there were other issues. Again, we're going to push that back. Modern politicians were trying to use a religious leader to push their agendas. They installed Pope Francis to push this LGBTQ alphabet agenda, the woke agenda in the church. They tried to push them to this pull this illegal aliens. Everybody, we should be accepting everything in the third world willy nilly, no matter what. And the idea is to get people who have to believe he's infallible to go along with all of this. And that, yes, the global warming or the whatever global warming is, it's been a very cold spring for that matter over here in New York.
Yeah.
Well, you understand where I'm going. I believe this is what they were trying to do. It's a master manipulation. And believe me, if these people could do it with the other religions, they would.
Yeah. So I get your point. I do. But that's part of the problem. And let me bring up another dangling participle. Can I use that term? I often do.
Oh, yeah.
One of the dangling participles of the Catholic Church is that women essentially can't be like co-equals, right? Am I right about that? They you can't have a woman priest, right? It's like
Oh,
all
no,
guys,
no.
all
Nope,
guys
not
all
at
the
all.
time. It's
That's right.
it's like a gay bathhouse, right? No, no, I didn't say that. I don't mean. I'm just being a little bit funny here. So, but I'm just saying that a lot of people think that the women of the church should be more, I don't know, recognized. Like, let me give you an example. And I don't mean to get into theology here, but I am. Uh, Mary Magdalene Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. She was actually, from most credible accounts, Jesus's wife.
That's
And yet
possible. Yes, very possible.
but I think it's more than, I think the Catholic, the line of Catholic thinking diminished her for purposes of justifying a male only domination of their flavor of religion. So what say you?
um, the women play a very important role in the Catholic Church. You see, you see nuns out there in the community. You see them,
I
and
see
there are
nuns, and they
mothers,
get, yes,
right?
the
There are
flying nun.
mothers.
I used to love that show.
That was great, and of course, the singing nun. I was a fan. But, Dominique was a good song. The fact is, women play a very important role in the church. They just don't run the clergy. They're all
Just not a critical role, an important but not
no,
critical role. Is that what you're saying?
I'm community relations, charity, and teaching in schools. I believe that is very, very important. I mean, again, I know they're not leading the church. They're not running mass. They're not taking high leadership positions. I believe that's the way the church has been set up for a long time. But there is a female hierarchy. I mean, there are mother superiors all over the place. Mother Angelica is the one who set up.
Yeah,
She set up the Eternal World Television Network. So women play an extremely important role in the Catholic Church. It's just again
yeah,
the whole feminist idea that, well, a woman has to be a pope somewhere along the line, or a woman has to be this, this, and this. That's just not the way the
yeah,
church is set up, and that's not the way a lot of churches have been set up over the
yeah.
centuries.
Well, no, I'm not questioning other churches. I'm questioning church.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
but I don't want to get you in trouble because obviously, you're a good guy.
I don't-
We all love you. But
Apparently, I'm not in trouble here.
I'm not sure. Is it true that Pope Gregory had orgies with his daughter in the Vatican? Oh, I should have sprung that on you.
There were some certain ones, and look, history doesn't look too favorable upon Pope Urban either. But the fact is, Pope Urban knew that Catholics, Christians, were getting their heads chopped off, trying to go
Yeah,
to the Holy Land, and they had to do
yeah.
something about it. The Crusades were an extremely important part
I'm
of
not against the
our
Crusades.
history.
I
Right,
understand I'm part Spanish, and the Basque Spanish were Muslims, and there was a big war to bring Spain and Portugal back from Islamic influence. So I'm not complaining. I'm just stating that there are certain things that within the religion I think don't reflect the best interest of humanity. The Pope taking political positions, I don't think that was a good idea. The Pope advocating only a little bit for women, but not really kind of elevating into a level which I think he could have. He could have, I think, he elevated transgender and queer.
that's
He
where he
said,
was going.
well, he said, well, it's a sin, but not against the law. Okay, dude. Uh, I think you're the pontiff. You're supposed to be the guy ruling on sin. Am I missing something here? Because that's what he was doing, Chris. Just saying. And I think that's what got a lot of devout Christians, a lot of devout Catholics upset with him, right? I mean, am I
Right.
wrong on that?
Yes, and I want to correct myself. It's McCarrick, Theodore McCarrick, I believe it was. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember the guy's last name. It's Theodore McCarrick, the child molester that Pope Francis put back into the hierarchy of the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I think that's the issue that we're hoping for. So let's not look back because I'm
Yes,
just going to get
Theodore
us in
McCarrick.
trouble if I keep talking about the past because I keep bringing up things which are uncomfortable,
No,
which is kind of my job, but that's okay.
well,
So let's look
the chat
forward.
seems to like this, so maybe we should talk about this.
Well, yeah, I see. Yes, Tony. Okay. Well, I'll talk about it a little bit in context. Hold on.
Well, let's go up to some of
Yeah.
let's go to some of what we see on the chat
Well,
here.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I
George
got
is
it.
saying popes, cardinals, bishops, and priests were all married at one time. The reason why they stopped that was because the wives were getting the property after they died. I guess that makes a lot of sense when it comes to the law. The church does want to suck up the property, and the church and the crown kind of fought for a lot of dying men's properties. I do understand that. We do. I was also asked to take a look at the Lavender Mafia, which is something I've heard of. I'll do a little more in depth on that before I start talking about it and trying to be an expert on that sort of thing. I'll do some more research on that. But MK Hart is probably right about this. The new pope could be the same. The pope laid the ground to continue his legacy. Hope not, but who knows? funny thing, I do want to throw this in there. The Obama Biden administration, according to Theodore McCarrick, and I know Dr. Corsi's talked about this too, and not according to Theodore, excuse me, according to Mike McCormick, who's been out with us several times, and he's seen this. He was there as a stenographer. They helped overthrow the Catholic Pope Benedict. They did. That's what happened. They're not here now. As a matter of fact, Obama has a lot less power than people think at this point because Biden, they've embarrassed themselves right and left over the last month. Let's look at it this way. Um, with Trump and the rise of the right in these European nations, who generally are Catholic, and the rise of independence when it comes to Latin American nations, and the right's already also rising down there. We saw what happened in Argentina and Brazil. They had to throw the main opposition in jail because Luna's a communist. So I'm thinking that maybe we grow back, or we bring in maybe a pope is brought in, which is more of a traditionalist. That's a possibility here. What do you think, Tony?
Well, that's what I was going to ask about. What kind of pope do you think is going to come in? Because remember, isn't the last pope still alive, or did he pass already too? Pope Paul?
Benedict, I believe, is still around.
Benedict.
Yeah.
So can he like come in like the vice president and just kind of like take over for a while?
No, there has to be a long ceremony. There has to be a vote. There are times when the vote is not even complete. I guess there are a few people who are nominated, and the cardinals will have to go in. And I believe, oh gosh, I don't remember which color smoke it was, but they have to go in and convene. They vote. If they can't come to a decision, they come out, make that announcement after putting I think it's black smoke or white. I don't remember which smoke. Apologies for that one. Maybe the Patriots can help me out with that.
Yeah.
But when there's finally a pope, and again, I've seen this happen where they couldn't decide on a pope for Benedict is dead. Okay. I couldn't decide on a pope for, I don't know, for hours. It took hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just
I've
just
been
find it
corrected, by the way.
interesting that you guys have a silver hammer you hit people with, and then you have people running around in long, smocks and with pointy hats. It's all quite fascinating.
Yeah, Pope Benedict is. I believe I'm hearing that Pope Benedict is dead.
Oh,
Yeah. So
well, I guess that's out then. I guess
it
no
was a
reserve
couple
pope.
years ago, and I didn't.
No,
I
well,
must have,
So, well, now, by the way, I don't want to commingle this, but I am. Do you know who else resigned today?
All right. Who resigned?
Klaus Schwab.
Oh, well, he was on the way out anyway. He was. He
Well,
said he was going to retire.
no. It happened the same time the Pope passed. So,
Ah.
is this like serendipity or evil? I don't know, because to me, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy guy, and I'm not, but I'm just saying it is peculiar that the Pope dies and then Klaus Schwab resigns. Just saying, because that's kind of like, really? Why would you do that? Why would you? Would you think maybe they wanted to do it because they thought this would get lost in the news cycle? Because Klaus Schwab, but here's the Pope. So I'm just asking because I don't think these things. Schwab could pick any time he wanted to resign. There he is. There's Klaus Schwab.
He did. So,
by the way, I'm wearing today my tactical Sphinx shirt. So I like Sphinx. Sphinxes, despite Dr. Evil, they're not evil. Sphinxes are quite cool. Look at this. See, and it says on here, "Death before dogs." Just saying. So.
No, I remember I had to ask the Sphinx a question or something like that, a riddle, right? And this is a great Emo Phillips. I remember Emo Phillips said this. They were talking about the Sphinx question or something like that, and he asked, "What is 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, 3 legs in the evening?"
This is not my cat. No, this is not my cat.
No,
my cat is. This is Arlene. This is Arlene's cats. So and if those who follow the show know who she is. So just saying.
And Mr. Bigglesworth is also
anyway.
Tony's cat.
Mr. Bigglesworth. Yeah, I feel sorry for Mr. Bigglesworth because I don't think he's evil. I think he may have hung out with evil. Anywho, back to the story.
Spend enough time with.
So, by the way, you're wearing a special shirt today too, and you got like a push-up bra on or something under it. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that. It is hockey playoff season. That's right. One of my favorite times of the year. I'm a Devils fan. The Devils are back in the playoffs, and I'm wearing a traditional, actually a 1974. Oh, it's a replica. It's of the Kansas City Scouts. The New Jersey Devils were not the New Jersey Devils. This was the third location. They moved there in '82. In 1974 through 76, they were the Kansas City Scouts as an expansion team along with the New York Islanders. Then in 76, because nobody was going to the games, they moved to Colorado, became the Colorado Rockies. They made the playoffs once. The year they had 21 ties. 21 ties, and they were beaten by Mel Bridgman in the first round of the playoffs with a game-winning goal from the Flyers. Mel Bridgman later became their captain when the Devils moved to New Jersey shortly after Don Lever left the team. So there you go. Yes, I remember my favorite teams when they stink. I'm not a fair weather fan. Never have been. Heck, I'm a Met fan. What do you think?
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Barry.
Hey guys.
Speaking of fans,
Yeah.
good morning. So are you so first off, are you Catholic and are you a fan of the Pope? And then we'll talk about other fans after that.
I'm not a Catholic and I am not a fan of the Pope. As you guys were discussing earlier, I'm not a big, I don't know why he got involved with our open borders, and I wasn't aware of the story that Chris was talking about something with a pedophile or some child molester. I don't even know about that.
Theodore McCarrick.
Yeah,
yes, he was brought back into prominence by the Obama administration and by Pope Francis.
Yeah. No, I just hope now they pick somebody conservative Pope. I think Cardinal Dolan from New York would be great.
I would like to see that.
Nolan's a cool guy.
I don't think it's going to happen,
Nolan's
but I think
a cool guy.
great.
I don't think we how long's it been? Have we ever had I'm trying to think here. No, Cardinal Dolan might be a good choice. He's been there for a while. He's a cardinal now. Maybe they could we should run him. We should campaign for Cardinal Dolan.
Exactly.
I like him.
I'll paint the signs. Yeah. Probably won't happen, but that would be nice. I don't think they're going for a New York.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see which way they go, because again, so much of the world right now is watching the direction of things. And let's be honest, religions are political. They have, this Pope was very political. And I think it's interesting. He was a Jesuit too, right, Chris? A Jesuit. He was Jesuit trained.
Yes.
And are they like the special forces guys of the Catholic Church? Do they like jump in off of airplanes and go secure monasteries and stuff? I mean, I've never understood what they do.
I think they do the trench warfare.
Ah, that makes sense. But Jesuits are a special type of Catholic, right?
Right.
The worst.
They are.
There
are different kinds.
Yeah.
How soon do they have to pick a new pope? Actually, is the question. Because how much time can they go without a pope?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't think Ed Henry's going to put in for pope. I love Ed. Good morning, evil overlord. But yes.
Well, okay, let's go. I'm going back and forth with the Patriots here too. By the way, I did have somebody who say the Rockies stank, the Colorado Rockies, the baseball team, and I agree with that. They're 4-17 this year, so let's go there. Red Ginger said no more Jesuits for Pope. I believe that they are more of a left wing or liberal type of I would say trench warfare. So that's it. They're not the parachutists. They're definitely the trench warfare. Obviously, they're not going to bring in somebody from Opus Dei, because they're not going to want to have everybody wear those spikes on the inside of those leg collars every day. So that's a little too far. So yes, I do believe with the way the world is going and the way the church is going, the rank and file maybe, and again, these are amongst the people I speak with, so that's anecdotal. You think about this, there's probably a lot less. There's probably a lot less people who want to see the church continue in the direction it is.
Hopefully.
So what is that direction?
Well, it's going too far to the left. It's going too far to the globalist left, if you will.
Well, that's my point about Klaus Schwab.
Right. Agreed.
Let me ask that question, because I think the Patriots would are paying attention to this, because do you think that the Pope, this last Pope, the guy that just died, was silver? Did you know, Barry, that when these guys pass, they have a silver hammer and they hit him in the head 3 times to see if they're dead? Did you know that? And I'm not kidding.
They give
that's the Catholic way.
Treatment.
I thought you were kidding.
Yeah, I
mean,
know
that. Wow.
It's true. You can Google it, and in this case, because he was Latin American, it's like a pinata. It's like a pinata. Hopefully, tasty candy would have come flying out, but I don't know if that happened or not. So I don't know. I wasn't there. Anyway, but my point being, to the Patriots, and it's a question I think we all should go through here, is if there was a relationship, which I think there was. Don't let me bias your comments in the chat. Yes, well, I'll talk about Pete Hexteth in a minute. That's kind of what I'm going back and forth on here right now. So
The Pope is
what I'm saying is that the World Economic Forum, I think, had influence on the Pope. What do you think, Chris? And I'll let Barry comment on that next.
Well, I believe the World Economic Forum, which, by the way, had a lot of influence on the Obama administration, wound up finding somebody as powerful and as well spoken as Obama. Keep in mind, before this guy was elected president, he was a rock star. He did a world tour. He got the Nobel. And just bear with me on this. He got the Nobel Peace Prize simply for just being a well-spoken black guy who won the presidency. The idea is the World Economic Forum, the globalist taste within the Nobel Prize hierarchy, the Nobel hierarchy. Just hear me out on this. Wound
Yeah.
up finding a real spokesman to influence organizations like the Catholic Church and like other worldwide organizations to poll or to try to convince them that globalism is more popular, and that's the way to shift over. And you had to find somebody within, and yes, a communist country, which was where Argentina was for almost a century at the time until they came to their senses, the voters. Think about that. The idea was they needed to find a minority or a perceived minority pope, and somebody who was not a white male European. The globalists needed to make sure that this new pope had a Marxist perspective, and they had to make sure they were in line with the globalist perspective and the globalist agenda. And that's where they dug up Pope Francis. And of course, he was not very. He had his issues when it came to child trafficking as well. When it came to covering those things up and not paying attention.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. So let me hit that and I'll let Barry comment on it too. Do you think, Barry, that the Pope went as far as he could or should have to resolve the child abuse issues which have dogged the Catholic Church for decades? What do you think?
It doesn't appear so. I mean, I don't know a lot about what he's done, but I'm guessing probably not. It doesn't. I haven't heard a lot about what he really did to
You
prevent
didn't
it.
hear about it because I don't think he did anything.
Right,
That's not
exactly.
my point.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah. So that's why we need a good conservative pope now.
So one thing I want to bring up while we're on this topic, and yes, we'll get to Pete Hegseth in a bit, I promise.
They really want this.
So the thing that is notable that the early days of the Catholic Church, Barry, do you know why that only men can be dominant in the Catholic Church, and they have an oath of celibacy? Do you know why?
I'm sure I've heard it, but I don't remember.
The reason is because they wanted an oath of celibacy so the priest could never marry and have children, and then because if they did that, the land they own, basically
Right.
what they own, would transfer down to their offspring. So the Catholic Church said, no, 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 no. You're married to the church. You belong to the church, and therefore anything you acquire is maintained by the church. So that's why the church became very rich. It's still rich to this day, right, Chris? They don't send you
Yes.
guys, the Catholics, you guys get checks or something? I don't know how that works.
And we get nothing. This is
Okay.
not the days when in past lives we fought for the Knights Templar or anything like that, and that didn't
Yeah.
turn out well after about a century plus. But anyway, well, we'll get into that at another time. The idea is the church and the crown in a lot of areas were fighting over land rights for people who died, and they wanted people to sign things over. So the church figured if the priests, if the clergy was obligated anyway to sign over to them, they had a little more power. They were very, very politically powerful back in the day. Having said that, that the other thing is, I think that they didn't want the priest to. They wanted the priest to go full into to guide their clergy and not have to worry about getting yelled at when they got home. So that's another reason that the priests were not allowed to marry. All right, you know what? I was hoping we need a laugh track, that sort of thing.
Well, so Sally Fields, was that the singing nun or the flying nun? Because she did fly.
Sally Fields was the flying nun.
Flying nun, yeah, flying nun.
Yeah. Who was the singing nun?
The singing nun had a hit song, I believe it was top 10, called Dominique, and I am looking up her name just because I don't remember it. Her name is she's Belgian, by the way.
Oh,
she's Belgian. Sister Luc Gabriel. That's who it is. That's the singing nun.
Not familiar with her.
She had a hit song called Dominique back in 1963. I believe it was top 10. People may not remember that, although it was referred to once in a. It was referred to once in during Everybody Loves Raymond, where he tried to sing it, and he did it. Raymond tried to sing it quite terribly. Here is the singing nun. I have a picture of her, but it was a huge hit, and she was definitely a great ambassador to the arts and through the arts from the Catholic Church. And that was a good thing. But it was a hit in 1963. Dominique.
Is she the one that wasn't she in a movie with? I'm thinking of somebody else. Maybe she was in a movie with Elvis, and then she became a nun. Kind of looks like her. There was an actress. She was in a movie with Elvis, but then she quit acting, became a nun. That looks like her.
My cousin Greg is a nun.
Cousin Greg?
My cousin Greg is a nun. Yes, because what happened was he was applying for some kind of loan, and they asked him for his occupation, and he put nun.
Well, at least then he gets the benefits of being able to run around with that cool head thing, that wacky.
Are we going to get in trouble, everybody?
Well, I think those are cool hats. And a friend of mine, Mark Warner, Steve Warner. Mark was his older brother. He's from high school. So back in the 70s, my friend Steve Warner would come to Halloween parties as the Pope. He was quite fun. It's nothing. It's just as few things funnier than a drunk Pope. I'll tell you that right now. So. I swear to God, he'd go around blessing people. It was quite funny.
I'm into that.
And there was no drinking age in the 70s where we were at. We're in Lisbon, Portugal, so there was no drinking age. So just saying, different times.
Now there's another aspect to bringing in Francis that I do want to bring up, and this may have been sort of the guise. The Catholic Church still has they're losing people. They still have to find a way to keep their traditions and keep younger people involved in the church, because the less people the people that start leaving the church more often, and there obviously there's several reasons for that, but you lose kids, you're going to lose your population, you're going to lose your religion, you're going to lose your power, you're going to lose your ability to fund your schools. There is an issue with that too, and I'm sure they were hoping. I'm sure a lot of the hierarchy amongst the cardinals were hoping, the ones that weren't in the know, the ones that were probably hoping that a more liberal or left-leaning pope could attract younger people. And I don't think the numbers have proven that as correct.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, let me ask you then. So let's ask Barry, because Barry's like a third party. I don't really have skin in the game. I just like making fun of the skin. So let's let Barry judge this. Barry, what could the next pope do to entice you to become a Catholic?
Let's see.
First off, you get the free wine.
Put a list together. Put a list together.
Already there. I may not need a pope for that. I might be there already.
No, it's kind of a loaded question, but I am kind of curious on what exactly how would the church reinvent itself to draw people in, I guess is the better way of phrasing the question. Any thoughts on that, Barry?
Yeah, I think just to have traditional values that should, what do you, to be more like John Paul. I think I think he certainly brought in a lot of people to the church, and I think if it's just traditional values, that's what people expect from the church.
Yeah.
Not to be so far left, obviously. That will turn people off.
Chris, what do you think? Do you agree with that? I mean, is that what would fix the foundation?
And interestingly, there's a recent study posted that young males are leaning more conservative. Young females are leaning more liberal, but young males are leaning more conservative, and they want to have families, and they want to instill in their kids more traditional values. I don't know if this will translate to going back to church or rejoining the Catholic Church if they're part of their products of falling or lost or Catholics who left the church, that sort of thing. But we could see in the long run maybe a comeback when it comes to values and it comes to church going. Yes, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you said,
it'll be interesting. So anyway, we got to move on though, because there's other things we got to get to, and we're already halfway through the show. So suffice it to say, I guess we'll comment on what the Catholics do next. Chris, are they going to sell those silver hammers? If I had a hammer, I'd hammer it on the Pope. That's a great song. We should do that song.
I still think that's kind of a myth, but I'm sure they. I'm sure there has to be a way they make sure the Pope is actually.
If
passed
I were the
on.
Vatican, man, oh man, I'd sell silver hammers. It's like the Pope clarification device. That's man, they could market that. You could
What they
put that
call
on
Maxwell?
eBay, man. As
If
a matter
I
of
had
fact,
a
I should go
silver
do that.
hammer.
I should go paint. I'm going to go paint a hammerhead and say it's a silver Catholic hammer. How about that? I'll put it on eBay.
I like it. I
only
like it.
only used once. Only
is a
used on
cunning
one Pope.
plan. Yes.
Could we try the silver hammer test on George Soros? Maybe see if he's still alive.
Well,
Maybe a little harder than
well,
normal.
I've never seen the Pope and Soros together in the same room. Just saying.
Yeah.
Same with Klaus Schwab and Soros,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so all right, well, we'll have to move on. But it suffices. Oh, so the next thing we want to hit real quick before we get to Pete, we'll get to Pete before the end of the show, is Van Hollen. Man, that guy's a knucklehead. I've been watching that guy. My friend Andrew over at Run Don't Walk is going to be doing a video, kind of a summary of he sent me a little of a preview, and we need to get Andrew on at some point. Anyway, he's going to do this Maryland man summation. It's like he's taking and captured every occurrence of the mainstream media calling him a Maryland man. No, he's an MS-13 gang member / terrorist who's an El Salvadorian citizen. That's the fact. That's who he is. He's not a Maryland man. I mean, unless they've changed the definition, because Maryland men are people who I believe are U.S. citizens who reside in Maryland. Right, Barry? Is that's what I think is the correct interpretation.
I would go even further. He's a MS-13 gang member, terrorist, white beater, possible child trafficker. So, a Democrat's wet dream, basically.
Exactly. And look at this. He's sipping margaritas with his MS-13 number. By the way, make sure you cover your tattoos. Make sure you cover whatever's on your hand. Just make sure you cover things. And then there's this. Yeah. I'm going to get to Caitlin Collins in just a little bit. But look at this picture of him sipping. And he's looking intently at this guy. Don't you think the interpreter looks a lot like Alex Soros?
He does.
Yeah, I agree.
Must be the hip thing among leftists. And now look at this picture of him. His eyes are beaming.
Yeah, he's in love.
Now, Van Hollen, what Van Hollen is really doing, Van Hollen doesn't care about this guy. He doesn't even care about the Maryland man or the Maryland man hoax. Van Hollen knows that the Democrat Party does not have a leader, does not have a face, aside from Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He knows there's a gap where he thinks he can take over and possibly run for president in 3 years on a virtue signaling off a virtue signaling tour. This is what we're going to see from a lot of people in the future. Somebody wants to grab that new face of the party guard. And this is how he's doing it. He's taken upon the latest thing, and believe me, he's going to do it again. But he's taken upon this latest thing, doesn't care, doing the photo ops and making sure that this guy, the fake Maryland man, looks as sympathetic as possible, so he can look like the guy who said, "Oh, well, Trump wouldn't let me bring him back, but I told you, I really tried." That's what's going to happen.
It's disgraceful. It's so disgusting.
Did you see the press conference?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Nobody appeared. Nobody showed up for it.
Yeah. Tony, you want to play a little round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's play a little.
We're joined by his wife, Jennifer, by his wife, Jennifer, by his mother, Cecilia, by his brother, Cesar, and thank all of the rest of you who are joining us in solidarity with the Constitution.
And so
let's hit this real quick. So let me bring up. I like talking about the obvious. Barry, how many Democrat members of Congress have gone to Israel and to the Gaza Strip to demand Hamas give up the U.S. citizens they're holding? How many? Just tell me off the top of your head. I think you can probably take a guess.
Yeah, that would be a big fat zero, I would say. They don't give a damn about American hostages. Yeah.
Exactly.
American hostages.
I find it interesting that Van Hollen hasn't expressed one word about American citizens being held hostage. He's not said a thing to the angel moms who were murdered. Exactly. And all he says is, well, this guy wasn't involved in that directly. Really? It's like saying, yeah, the Nazis kill people, but he's like not the Nazi that pulled the trigger. That's what he's doing here.
Exactly.
There we go. And
Yeah,
there's another-
exactly. I mean, they're just, again, it was disgraceful how he didn't comment on the angel mom that was in the press room the other day. Not a word.
Keep in mind,
Never reached out. Right. Yeah, never reached out to the family. This is the Democrats' priorities as terrorists, as Hamas. This is their base, I guess. This is who they care about. They don't care about Americans. They don't care about victims of open borders.
keep in mind that Van Hollen also voted against the Lake and Riley Act.
Right, of course.
That's something else too. They don't care.
No.
They want to. This is all about virtue signaling, and it's all about maneuvering for power. And this disgusting Caitlin Collins
Oh
is
God.
trying, and along with a lot of the mainstream media, this is the new thing. They're trying to think this fake Maryland man is not a gang member, saying that even though Donald Trump and the Department of Justice have pointed out that there are MS-13 tattoos in this guy. She's even trying to convince people that they're not really MS-13 tattoos, or they're trying to make it look like he has them.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, why? Well, I don't know if either one of you know this. Why do they have those tattoos on their knuckles right there? Do you know why?
No.
Because it's a form of rapid identification, friend or foe. You know, on airplanes we have things that transmit back and forth. The gang, you can flash immediately what gang you're part of and stop from getting shot. Just saying.
Right.
That's why they have it where it's at. This is a symbol. This is identification to make sure that people either know your affiliation or your enemy. So it's there because you can show it to another gang person really quick.
Yeah.
So
there's your proof.
so why if this guy isn't MS-13, why does he have the tats on his hand? Just asking. Right?
Right. But
No,
come on. You present Democrats with facts, they don't care. They'll just lie and just right to your face.
They're allergic to facts. You know that.
Yeah,
already.
exactly.
Yeah, here you go. Here's a close up of one of the tattoos. I think I just took it off. Here's a close up of one of the tattoos. And he's got them all over, by the way. And this is again, you can use the gang signs like the Van Buren gang here, or you can or to signal out. But this is what he is. He's MS-13, and yeah, conveniently the wife recanted on the wife beating allegations. But this is the kind of people. These are the kind of people that the Democrats want in this country. They want people who terrorize regular citizens, keep them at bay, scare them, so they can have criminals run over everything, and then lie and let them off and lie and say the crime numbers are down. That's what they do. I mean, you have Governor Hochul letting out the worst of the worst criminals in New York State. This is one of them. She just lets out the worst of the worst criminals. I'm talking about people who've hacked up their girlfriends.
Yeah. It's happening almost every day, right, Barry? I mean, I don't want you to get yourself in trouble since you live up there, but man, oh man, I don't think NYPD and the state up there, I don't think they have control of public safety. Anyway.
Oh my God, no. New York's a disaster. No, again, just Democrats, they side with criminals. They go against the law enforcement. They're anti-law enforcement. They're pro-criminal. This is the bottom line. They won't punish. They won't punish criminals in New York City, and they'll go out of their way to try to punish the police if they think they did the slightest thing a little incorrectly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, I guess that's the thing about this whole thing with Van Hollen and the left. I see them doubling and tripling down, trying to say, oh, it's about due process. No, the guy lost. Let me be clear for the Patriots. You all know this probably because you pay attention. The guy lost his last asylum hearing. He is now basically ready to be deported because, he's on that list. So the issue is that he was returned to a nation which he said there's gangs out to kill him. Well, maybe that's true. I don't know. But he is back in the country where he started out. Just saying.
Yeah, why is that our problem?
Yeah. And for the Supreme Court to say, oh, you got to endeavor to get him back, or they use some weak language. It wasn't a directive because they really can't direct it. They said, well, you need to try. It's like, yeah, I'll the president's here in my office and I'll ask him. Oh, he said no. Oh, okay, I guess we're done.
There you go. So
there it is. Look at that.
He even has MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. What does that mean? Is that the public school he went to? Middle school 13? Hey, come on. It doesn't matter. He may have gotten caught in the crossfire, but he does not. He has to go. He's a member of a terrorist organization that has to go. With the same people, these same Democrats, and again, the answer might be yes. But would these same Democrats want somebody from Al Qaeda or Hamas who is in this country to get due process when found to be of those organizations?
Yeah, apparently, I think they're fans of all the above.
Right. And you see a lot of memes on social media that the Constitution writes out all people deserve due process, but the Constitution itself was there to protect American citizens.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
not enemy
exactly.
agents.
Right.
Right. Absolutely none of them.
Yeah.
And the Alien Enemies Act has covered all those bases anyway.
Yep. I think it's clear on where this is all going. Yeah, I think it's another smokescreen that's going to go nowhere. And I think they continue to embarrass themselves. Barry, do you think they're going to fall below 20% approval at the rate they're going, the Democrats?
Oh, I thought they were there already, but yeah, I would think so. They're just
it's about 23%. I think it's 21, 23.
Well, they've lost some of that 47%.
They're getting crazier and more irrational. And if Jasmine Crockett is their leader, then yeah, they're going below 20%. I hope Americans are sensible enough to bring them that low numbers of approval, because it's who could approve of them? They're just insane,
Yeah, I know. It's nuts. So anyway, I think the whole issue at this point is how low can they go? Because this Van Hollen thing, he admitted he traveled on taxpayer dimes. He admitted he's not talked to any Maryland people, the moms who were killed by MS-13. They are all in for criminal gangs and terrorists.
Yes.
I mean, it's the only way you can explain it. It is what it is at this point. So it's nuts. It really is nuts. So
the same thing with the Hamas guy.
All right. So is it time to get to the next topic? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So yeah, I don't think Hamas? Do Hamas? Well, I touched upon Hamas by the fact that there's been not a single Democrat. There's been some Republicans who have gone over to Israel to try to talk to folks, but not a single Democrat, not one, has gone over to actually do anything to help secure the return of the American citizens being held by Hamas. Not one. Yet, this guy's down there drinking margaritas with this terrorist. Right. I just think it's a bad look, and it's not going to get any better no matter what they say or do. Just saying.
But they're also trying to get the guy who they kicked out from, I believe it was Colombia, the Hamas supporter. They're rooting for him too. I mean, they root for the Hamas supporters, root for the MS-13 gang members. I mean, they're just on the wrong side of everything.
Yep, agreed.
They're for evil against good.
Hey, again, Trump put it best in his campaign commercial. They're for they, them. We're for us. Right.
No, they hate America.
That's true.
That's not an exaggeration. They do.
Now, look, that's been a long time principle from the globalists: destroy the first world, depopulate, and weaken everybody to create a dependent class. And you don't have a dependent class when you have countries where the middle class is strong, and that's another reason they despise Trump.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep. So I don't know what else to say on this, because it's just the Democrats are evil. Am I wrong? Am I wrong on that? Barry, am I being too hard on the Democrats?
Oh my God, no! I say that every day. It's just
all right.
They are evil. They're no longer liberals. They are the left, and they're evil. They're dangerous. They're Marxists.
All right. Well,
One question, Tony. Though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question about this. Still on this subject. And I wanted to ask you this before. And I want to ask this to the Patriots and Barry, of course. This man went to another country and tried to negotiate foreign policy at another country. Thank goodness it was an ally at this point. But wouldn't that be a violation of the Logan Act?
It is. So a lot of folks are encouraging Pam Bondi to look at this from a violation of the is it the, which act is it? The Hatch Act?
The Logan.
No, not the Hatch. Logan Act. Logan Act. Yeah. So at this point, I would do that. Now, the other thing too, let me say this, and I think the Patriots are going to agree with me. Where are the freaking indictments?
Yes.
What are we waiting on? And this is going to roll right into the Pete Hegseth issue in a second, but this is bridging that. But where are the indictments? Where are the indictments?
Yeah,
I don't know.
has to start moving.
Great question.
Yeah. So,
Are they-
so this is a good
taking
bridge
their
to this.
time
So,
to get the
so everybody
facts.
wants to talk about Pete. Let's talk about Pete. So, there's this latest attack. It's a rehash of the old attack. I may or may not have been chatting with someone involved in all this. It's not Pete. Don't be thinking it's Pete Hegseth. It's not, but it's someone involved. So, I can tell you from my direct correspondence with this person, it's all false. That there are people doing two things at the top. First off, they are leaking information which should be protected, and then and what they're doing is putting it in the incorrect or wrong context. That's what's going on. So you have a combination of half truths being manipulated and expanded by the left wing media. Are we surprised by that? No. So I just want to be very clear on this. And some of these folks are not Democrats.
Oh, wow.
Let me be clear on what I'm saying here. Yeah,
Mhm.
let me be very clear on what I'm saying. If for those who are paying attention, there's been some individuals who came out of CNAS, the Center for New American Security, run by that was a left-wing incubator. I've told this to people. It's like, don't hire anybody from CNAS. CNAS is Michelle Flanoy and the Obama, what do you want to call them? That's a Democrat think tank. So
Wait a
even
minute.
if you're a
Democrat and
conservative,
think tank. That's kind of
Yeah.
an oxymoron,
well,
right?
well, they pretend. But I'm just saying, CNAS is an incubator for the deep state. I have said this several times. So that's a clue. Secondly, if you start looking at the individuals who they fired, you got to look at where they came from, who they worked for in the past. So I think if you take it, and again, these aren't Democrats that are being fired. These aren't people who are left wing. So I'm just saying that these are people who have been either embedded or have decided that they're part of the Liz Cheney wing of the party. Well, I don't even know what that is, but Barry, what do you make? What are we to make of all this nonsense from our side, from the conservative side now, where they're now trying to jump on the anti-Pete Hegseth train? What do you think?
Well, I would guess those are probably the rhinos of the same deep state that Trump was dealing with in the first administration. That I guess he
Yeah.
has enemies within, from unfortunately from our side too, where we always have people on our side who are not necessarily on our side. This peers,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, this is a reason why you have to get rid of the moles. And
Right.
they're not very easy to get a hold of. It's obvious that in the first term, Trump should not have kept a lot of those people around. Now you're going to get to that next level. He didn't keep a lot of those people around, but there are still those within who, hey, a lot of people can be bought. That's number one. Number two, like you said, Tony, not all, and like we all know, not all Republicans are going to go, hey, Trump is great, because Trump has exposed that party as well. As much as he exposed the Democrats, he also exposed the Republicans and the neocons, and they have an axe to grind. So anybody who's involved in those think tanks, anybody who has done business with these people, should be vetted, extra vetted, if anything else. Maybe not even brought in, like you said, because there's a potential that something could happen. At this point, you're trying to keep Pete Hegseth from moving forward and doing business here by using what's going to possibly be a trope for the next 4 years. He leaked information, which again, this is a hoax now, but they're going to keep using it because the media does spread the hoaxes. The idea is to kind of let it sink in people's heads that anything the Trump administration does with foreign policy is bad. And remember that when it comes time for 2026. And that's the idea. They're trying to gaslight Americans into thinking that Hegseth is not a competent leader of the Department of Defense. So far, by the way, the numbers show and the results show he's done a great job. I haven't heard too much about peep out of the Houthis in a while, have I?
Very true.
You're not, and that's
Have
the
you heard
point.
peep out of the
So-
Iranians in a while?
That's what he's there for.
And in my opinion, yes, I've said this before for Cali Cat 36. Yes,
Well, I like
I've
that.
said this on the record, and I've said it privately. The same people who are now out to get Pete and get him out are the same people who helped perpetuate the 9/11 attacks. Just saying. I've said this to Rudy Giuliani. I've said to Rudy, I said the enemies who did what they did to New York City are the same people out right now to undermine and end Trump and his team. The same people.
Wow.
It's the same group.
No.
It's just they've gotten a little bit older. They've perfected their ability to manipulate information, and this happens all the time. This second hit piece using manipulated information came out. What was it? Yesterday, or the day before, regarding Pete. So it's not about Pete and the job he's doing. It's all about trying to create this narrative. Just to yes, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm trying to text, so what it is this permanent deep state. I don't know how else to put it. It's the freaking deep state. It's the same group who have essentially established a whole rank and file of individuals who are part of their team. And they don't play for us. They don't play for the Republicans. They barely play for the Democrats. They play for the Democrats because the Democrats protect them. Democrats, the party of gangs and terrorists. So, why wouldn't they side with those folks? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
The anti-American group.
Now, here's another idea. This high tech, and let's put it this way, it does bring us to the point where even signal can be hacked into or can be snuck into. We get that. So perhaps we go back to low tech and bring back the stool pigeon or the pigeon, if you will, and send messages that way. That would be absolutely fantastic. Besides, this guy, Yankee Doodle Pigeon, avoided Dick Dastardly for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
The only problem is during World War I, Speckled Jim got shot and eaten by Captain Blackadder.
Right. Well,
it was General Milchick's pigeon.
Monemy made a great statement, and they have gone after the deep state money. That was USAID. So yes. We've come to find that impact already, by the way, because if for those watching the current movie, they're still living off some of that money, no doubt. I mean, this whole thing with Pete and all the setup, they're still a cohesive team behind the scenes doing this, and they're trying to chip through it, no doubt. With that said, has anybody noticed the protests around the country, Barry? I know you wouldn't go to a protesting Trump, but man, oh man, it's a bunch of these old people my age and older who are all upset. It's like the geriatric crowd showing up because there's no money left to pay the kids to show up, right? Am I right? I mean, just look at the crowds now.
Yeah,
that sounds like a cue if ever I heard one.
Yeah.
All right, check this out. This is the stereotype. Here's a stereotype protester right here. The old, like you said, with the tattoos. One of his little MS-13. Just kidding. And the mask. They got to be masked up too.
Yeah, what's with the mask?
Yeah, want to hear this?
It's pitiful.
Well, you got to hear this.
If you see ICE disappearing people in the streets, will you get in the way? Yes! If you are charged with enforcing any part of the president's unlawful executive orders, will you resist? Yes! If your neighbor needs a place to hide, will you hide them? Yes!
Idiot.
So right now, as the Maine legislature is trying to scapegoat transgender student athletes bargaining long-held civil rights away in hopes that it will save Maine's federal funding, will you show up for them and say that our human rights aren't for sale? Yes! Thank you.
If you go to an all-you-eat buffet, will you eat everything? Yes.
Yay!
Not a place where men want to go to meet women, that's for sure.
Oh no, I don't think it's a place where women want to go to meet women.
Wow.
If you go to a store that they have big pants, will you buy them? Yes.
The only reason the trucks, if they're blocking the road, the trucks do not plow into them is because their trucks will get dented. That's why.
Exactly. No wonder they're so angry if you look like that.
So let me ask the Patriots. Let me ask the Patriots. Would you be inspired by some person? I don't even know if that's a he, she, or them. I don't know what that is. Would you be inspired by that? Would anyone be inspired by that? I'm asking because I don't. It's like, man,
just other people that look like that.
I
guess, but
yeah,
they inspire each other to be angry.
By the way, George sent me this. This is a good time to show this. George sent me this. Hey, George, I don't know if I didn't see if you're in the chat, but George sent me this. It's kind of. Put it up on the big screen.
Oh yeah, of course. I was doing some Patriot chatting, so let me give you.
Yeah, I know. Well, you got to check because George sent me this.
This is awesome. I like this.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, George sent me this. So thank you, George. Yeah, George, I will put this somewhere to remind millennials that it's time to end the reason this fits in because that's nonsense. Millennial is like a nut, and I think she's been to one too many buffets. Sweetie, step away from the all-you-can-eat buffets. Just try a little restraint. Can I use that word? I think I can use that word, restraint. So
I just went out a Blackadder rabbit hole here. I want to get one of these.
Yeah. George needs to sell those. Yeah, George should sell these. He sent me two. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet, but he sent me
Another
two.
close
So
up.
thank
Let's
you,
do another
George.
close up. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
I'll buy
Ask
one.
George to sell
same
them.
here. I'll buy that. Yeah, George, sell it. I'll buy one. That would be great. I get one for my brother too. He's cool too. He'd like one of those.
So anyway, it's been another great show. We got to go, but I think we've educated, we've informed, entertained, and educated today, as we always do. So I think it's been a fun show. We covered everything, and just I think it's clear at this point the White House is sticking with Pete. They should stick with Pete.
Yes.
This whole thing is just nonsense, and I don't know what they're going to do next, but it ain't over. It ain't over. Just saying, it ain't over yet. And again, cards and letters to Pam Bondi. Reminder that she can indict people. That's part of her job. Just saying.
True.
Oh, the argument is she needs time. If you're putting very powerful people away, you can't just go willy-nilly. I understand this point, but remember, we kept hearing, "Oh, put Hillary in jail." I said years ago, Hillary Clinton will never go to jail. Never, because she's too powerful. There's too many people who stand up and hide evidence for her or speak and lie for her. This is what's going to make it difficult. If Pam Bundy is going to sit out there and say Adam Schiff is going to be indicted, you better be able to put him away, and there's not a single technicality that can get him off. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Well, I don't
I'm using
know.
Adam Schiff as an example. It's a tough one.
Let's frame this though. I don't know. I think Hillary being married to Bill is pretty much a prison sentence, and vice versa. I was
thinking vice versa was the
Great point.
I think that's
They
like
both
its own prison.
They're both
Maybe Chris Van Hollen can fly up to Chippewa, New York, or wherever, and have margaritas with the Clintons. That would be a better
probably
choice.
has.
So
He's probably doing it right now.
Well, we got to go. We got to go.
Thanks,
We got some good guests coming up this week, don't we, Chris? Who do we got?
Oh, we have Stephen Gardner scheduled for tomorrow, and Chris Ruddy is ready.
Stephen Gardner, my friend Stephen, great guy, does great reporting or blogging, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
Karen's in tomorrow, and we also have on Wednesday
Karen's
Chris Ruddy. We're talking Newsmax with Chris Ruddy, and by the way, successful.
My boss,
IPO.
My boss, yes, my boss. Boy, I got to be careful. I probably shouldn't show up for that show. I'll say something, get me in trouble, and get me fired.
Chris brought me in to do their headshot, so yeah, I love Chris.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Chris is great. That's right. You did all their headshots. I saw that.
Yeah,
so again, go check out Barry. Thanks. Barry, if you want headshots, go to Barry. Barry does it the best.
Absolutely.
Nobody does it better. This is like that song. You should do you should have Carly Simon do a version of that song for you.
That would be great. Or at least better. Itsy Bitsy Spider. She does a good version of that.
Yeah. So okay, good. Well, thank you, Barry, for being here. Chris, thank you for being here. And by the way, I think you look good in that push-up bra under that thing. I would do that more often if I were you.
I know. I just need like larger breasts. That's what I can do.
Yeah, there you go. It works. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.
Thanks, guys.